Here is your pawn ticket. You are entirely free. For 10 bitter years, Alexander despised the lady Ghostface who owned his life. Yet on her birthday, she painted her skin to look human, smiled through her tears, and handed him his freedom. He thought it was a victory. But when war reduced the city to ashes, he frantically returned, only to find her transformed. The fragile, snow-white monster was gone. Reborn with hair of midnight black, she sat in bridal crimson beside a ruthless general. Looking at him like a total stranger, she whispered, "You are too late. The girl who loved you died in the fire you helped ignite." On the day Luna May went to the Gu family escort agency to find Alexander Jiang, she sat before her bronze mirror and, for what felt like the first time, carefully applied her makeup. The face in the mirror was nearly colorless, so white it was almost translucent. White hair, white eyebrows, white skin, pale white lips. Even her pupils were as white as glass, giving her the appearance of being blind. But Luna May could see perfectly well. She rarely looked in the mirror. But as she studied herself now, she saw that every part of her was white. Even the skin under her nails was a ghastly pale shade. It was a startling white, an unnatural white, an unlucky white, like the lanterns hung at the door of a house in mourning. She opened her rouge box and stared at her reflection, hesitating. No wonder Alexander Jiang hated her. She really did look like a monster. Outside, the sun was shining brightly. After finishing her makeup, Luna May stepped out from the shade, holding a bamboo-ribbed parasol that shielded her completely. She touched the thin piece of paper tucked inside her robes. Today, she thought, at least today, he might finally look at me differently. Because she was going to give him a gift. Arriving at the Gu family escort agency, Luna May walked slowly through the courtyard. The hand holding her parasol was as pale as snow. The men training in the yard all stopped what they were doing, their whispers hushed and shocked, their gazes burning. Is that the May family's Lady Ghostface? It is. What's she doing out? The sun is so bright. She must be looking for Alexander. Strange, from this angle she doesn't look that scary. Luna May paid them no mind and walked straight to the far end of the courtyard. Alexander Jiang was standing there talking with a figure in crimson. Luna recognized her. It was Ruby Gu, Alexander's junior at the agency. Sensing her approach, Alexander Jiang turned his head just as Luna reached him. His expression soured instantly. She lifted the bamboo parasol slightly, revealing a powdered snow-white face. Her eyebrows were drawn long and dark, her lips were a lovely vibrant red, and her thick lashes trembled slightly. With just a touch of color, she was completely transformed. She seemed radiant, as beautiful as a celestial being, yet with an indescribable, bewitching charm. Alexander Jiang was stunned. He didn't seem to notice that the men from the agency had gathered around, all of them marveling. Even Ruby Gu, in her bright red dress, was speechless. As the hot sun beat down, Alexander Jiang took an almost imperceptible step forward, his body partially shielding her from view. He looked down and asked, "What are you doing here?" Luna May's pupils were still as white as glass. She looked up at him and asked softly, "Alexander, it's my birthday today. Will you come home for dinner?" Alexander Jiang paused. "I'm afraid I won't be back." His tone was stiff. He had told her he would be on an escort mission today, but here he was, caught chatting with his junior. The lie hung uncomfortably between them. But Luna May didn't seem to mind. She just smiled faintly. "Yes, I knew you wouldn't come back. That's why I came to find you." She slowly reached into her robes, took out the thin piece of paper, and squinted against the breeze blowing through the courtyard. "Alexander Jiang, this is your pawn ticket. As of today, I'm returning it to you. You're free." She spoke each word softly and slowly, but they landed like a clap of thunder, not only shocking Alexander Jiang but sending a wave of commotion through the courtyard. That thin piece of paper from the May pawnshop had bound Alexander Jiang for years. Due to the pawnshop's strict rules, he could neither redeem himself nor have anyone else do it for him. Even the people at the agency who wanted to help had been powerless. But now, Luna May had just taken it out, so casually, and said she was giving him his freedom. Alexander Jiang struggled to calm his racing heart, staring at the face under the parasol. "What do you mean by this?" Luna May shook her head. "I don't mean anything. It's just that it's all become meaningless." Her expression was somewhere between a smile and a sigh. but her glass-white eyes held a trace of sorrow. "All these years, I'm tired. From now on, go wherever you want. No one will stop you anymore." The pawn ticket was pressed into Alexander Jang's palm. The figure under the parasol suddenly seemed impossibly frail. "This is for you. I'm sure you didn't get me a birthday gift, but that's all right. This is my gift to you. Besides," she added, the white face taking a deep breath, "this is a gift to myself, too." Her dress fluttered in the wind, her posture a mix of melancholy and relief. "Alexander, you have no idea, do you? Loving you is just too hard. I don't think I have the strength for it anymore. I don't want to keep waiting day after day. Let's just end it here. I'm giving your pawn ticket back to you. You can go wander the world as you please. Let's just pretend we never met. I won't think of you anymore, and you don't have to hate me anymore, all right?" Alexander Jang stood there, clutching the pawn ticket, staring motionlessly at the person under the parasol, his mind a complete blank. He should have been ecstatic, but he couldn't say a single word. Instead, an indescribable sense of absurdity washed over him. The hot sun baked his back, but in his daze he was transported to a winter day many years ago. Snow filled the sky, and the wind was biting cold. He heard a childish voice by his ear, clear and light, her laughter filled with a gentle kindness. "Dad, look. That little boy's eyebrows are so pretty." The memory shattered on the snowy ground. Everything came to a halt, frozen in that moment. That winter in Sun City, the snow was 3 feet deep, colder than any year before. Inside the May pawn shop, a large man and a small boy were arguing below the counter. The man was a notorious local gambler. The boy was his son, only 7 or 8 years old. The boy was dressed in thin, tattered clothes, but his eyes were filled with determination as he desperately clung to his father's leg. "No, you can't pawn it. Mom said this is the last valuable thing we have. If you pawn it, we won't even be able to celebrate the new year." The gambler was short-tempered. He kicked his son away without a second thought. "Get lost! Out of my way! Don't stop me from striking it rich!" As he spoke, he flung a jumble of items onto the counter. The shopkeeper frowned and shook his head, but the gambler paid no mind. He swept the silver fragments and pawn slips into his robes and rushed for the door, eager to change his luck and pursue his grand money-making scheme. Seeing this, the child's face went pale. He had failed to stop his father, and now lay where he'd been thrown. He sat by the counter, stunned, unable to get up. Just then, a voice came from the side of the main hall. "Dad! Look, that little boy's eyebrows are so pretty." The words made the pale-faced boy look toward the sound, and also caused the gambler, who was now out in the snow, to stop short and turn around. The May pawn shop was home to a frail young lady, Master May's only daughter. He doted on her, giving her anything she wanted. The people of Sun City said he would pluck the very stars from the sky for her if she asked. The wind and snow howled. The little girl who had spoken was wrapped in a fox fur cloak, holding the hand of a wealthy-looking gentleman. It was indeed the young lady of the May family, Luna May. Master May looked down at his daughter and asked, "You like them?" The little girl was still too young to understand subtleties. She just nodded instinctively. "I do. They look like they were painted on." "So dark and thick," she thought, "sharp like a fine sword, and very handsome. Not like mine, which are just a patch of white." As she spoke, she let go of her father's hand and bounded forward like a little deer, gently helping the stunned boy to his feet. Meanwhile, Master May had turned to the gambler standing in the snow, his gaze complex. "Is this your son?" The gambler scurried forward, bowing and scraping. Yes, he is. He is my boy." Master May glanced at the 2 children out of the corner of his eye. Seeing the smile on his daughter's face, the corners of his own lips turned up slightly. An idea began to form. "This boy of yours, is he for pawning?" The words, spoken slowly, hung in the cold air. The gambler's eyes lit up, and he nodded vigorously, without a second's thought. Yes, of course. It's a rare honor that Master May finds him acceptable. Taking him would be for the best. Don't let his size fool you. He's a clever one. His price, naturally, will be different from some inanimate object. As for the price..." Master May raised a hand, cutting him off with a frown. He took a money pouch from his robes and tossed it into the snow. The gambler scrambled to pick it up. When he opened it, my goodness, it was full of gold leaves. The sight was blinding. Go to the counter and draw up the pawn ticket. The cold voice came from above. The gambler, ignoring the disgust in the tone, was overcome with joy. He pocketed the money pouch and readily agreed. The pawn ticket was written. The deal was done. Below the counter, the pale-faced boy in tattered clothes pushed away Luna May's helping hand, his voice strained. "Dad, what are you yelling for? Once I've made my fortune, I'll be back to redeem you in no time." As if afraid Master May would change his mind, the gambler clutched the money and disappeared into the blizzard in the blink of an eye. Behind him, the son he had just pawned was held back by several shop assistants, his cries heart-wrenching. "Dad, Dad, come back. Don't leave me." Master May had already led his daughter into the inner room. He watched the scene from a distance, his expression unreadable. He stroked his daughter's head and said gently, "Luna, Dad found you a companion, someone to talk to you, to play with you. Are you happy?" The small, fur-wrapped face stared blankly at the main hall, her long lashes trembling. She was too young to understand what being pawned meant. Hearing her father's question, she looked up, confused. "I'm happy. But why is the little boy unhappy?" Master May gave a silent smile and gazed out at the falling snow, his eyes distant. "As long as you're happy, that's enough. In this world, heaven doesn't grant everyone their heart's desire. Don't you have your own strange illness? Everyone has their own fate. One day, he will learn to accept his." After being pawned to the May family, Alexander John refused to eat or drink for 2 whole days. His eyes were bloodshot, and he hoarsely demanded to go home, like a small wild animal ready to bite anyone who came near. "Home," Master May snorted. "You don't have a home anymore. This is your home now, and the young miss is your only master." Alexander's breathing was ragged, his thin chest heaving. The sight frightened Luna May so much that she shrank behind her father. The handsome arch of the boy's eyebrows had suddenly become terrifyingly fierce. As if understanding something in her childish way, she tugged on her father's sleeve and pleaded, "I don't want the boy to play with me anymore. I don't. Please let him go home." After comforting his daughter, Master May looked at Alexander. He pondered for a moment, then spoke, his tone shifting to that of a man striking a deal. "All right, young man, I'll give you a chance. Go find your father right now. Find him, get that bag of gold leaves back, and this whole transaction will be void. You hand over the money, and I'll tear up the contract. You can go home immediately." Alexander stared at him for a long time, like a wolf cub, then answered with a viciousness that bordered on a snarl. "Fine. You said it yourself." Amidst the snow and ice, a carriage slowly followed the boy. Inside, Luna May kept peeking her head out, her gaze fixed with concern on the thin, lonely figure up ahead. The city was filled with gambling dens, and Alexander was clearly a veteran at this task of finding his father. He expertly ducked into one den after another. Though his heart was burning with anxiety, his face was calm and determined, unusual for a child. Watching from the carriage, even Master May couldn't help but nod in silent admiration. His desire to keep the boy by Luna's side grew even stronger. Finally, upon reaching the 12th gambling den, Alexander found his father, whose eyes were red from betting. More accurately, the two of them came tumbling out of the den, already grappling with each other. "What gold leaves? I lost them all. It's all your fault, you jinx. The moment you showed up, I lost several rounds in a row. Get the hell away from me." Cursing, Alexander's father kicked him into the snow. But Alexander sprang up immediately, his small frame radiating a murderous aura that was shockingly fierce for a child. "I don't care. Borrow money, do whatever it takes. Just redeem me first. You're the only one who can. I'll pay you back later. When I grow up, I'll take Mom and my little brother and sisters and we'll leave. We'll go far away and have nothing to do with you ever again." The two figures, one large and one small, began to fight, scuffling in the snow. In the blink of an eye, a crowd of onlookers had gathered. Luna May stuck her head out the window. Through the throng of people, she saw Alexander clinging to a man's leg, desperately trying to keep him from leaving. His father, eager to escape, had a furious, red face and was kicking at him viciously. Let go of me." Against the vast expanse of white snow, Luna's sharp eyes suddenly caught a flash of red. A trail of it began to spread across the snow from behind Alexander. Her heart leaped, and she couldn't stop herself from wanting to jump out of the carriage. A figure as nimble as a fawn pushed through the crowd, followed by a man in fine, noble robes. A cold voice sliced through the snowy air. "That boy belongs to my May family. If you kick him to death, can you afford to compensate me?" Alexander's father froze. He turned, breathing out a puff of white air, his teeth chattering. "Master May, I was just teaching this disobedient brat a lesson for you." The man in fine robes knit his brows and said coldly, his hands behind his back, "Are you going to redeem him?" Alexander's father waved his hands frantically. No, no, no. It's the fortune of a lifetime for him to be by your side, Master May. I won't redeem him. I won't." As if genuinely afraid Master May would ask him for the redemption money, he spotted an opening, shoved his way through the crowd, and fled in a panic. On the ground, Alexander's expression hardened. Ignoring the pain, he gritted his teeth and tried to struggle to his feet. "Come back. Don't go." Wrapped in her fox fur cloak, Luna May rushed to help him up. Her small hand instinctively covered his bleeding wound, as if she could feel the pain herself. Hey, are you all right?" But Alexander pushed her away like a madman. "Get away from me, don't touch me." As Luna stumbled, Master May caught her with a large hand. He looked down at the pathetic boy and said, word by word, into the wind, "Young man, I gave you your chance. You heard what your father said. Do you accept it or not?" Of course, Alexander did not accept it. He was locked in a dark room alone, and he screamed and raged until the middle of the night. It was Luna May who, carrying a small lantern, crept to his door after midnight. She pressed her ear against it and listened for a long while before reaching into her own pocket. There was a small hatch at the bottom of the door, used for passing food. Now a small, snow-white hand reached through it. The palm opened, and a soft, delicate voice followed. "Here, have some candy. Please don't cry." The room inside fell silent. After what felt like a long time, Luna felt the candy being lifted from her palm. But before she could feel happy, it was thrown back out through the hatch. "I don't want your candy. Fake kindness." After a pause, the voice inside said hoarsely, "And I wasn't crying." Luna didn't get angry. She picked up the candy, returned to the door with her lantern, and sat down leaning against it. Still wrapped in her fox fur, she blew the dust off the sweet, unwrapped it, and popped it into her own mouth. She didn't speak for a long time. She looked up at the stars, lost in thought. After the candy had completely dissolved, she took out another one and passed it through the hatch. As expected, a moment later, Alexander threw it back out. Luna pursed her lips, picked it up, ate it herself, and then passed a new one in. Alexander threw it out again. After this cycle repeated several times, the boy inside finally lost his patience. "Are you ever going to stop?" Luna leaned against the door, her long eyelashes trembling, her voice soft and coaxing. "I have lots and lots of candy. You can't throw them all away. There are as many as the stars in the sky. Candy is sweet. My father says eating it stops you from being sad, stops you from wanting to cry. I'll bring you some every day. Will you stay and play with me? Please? Get lost. Who wants your candy?" Alexander slammed a fist on the ground, his voice vicious. But as he yelled, tears began to fall uncontrollably. He covered his eyes. "I want to go home. I have to go home." As if hearing the sob in his voice, Luna reached her hand back inside, flustered. "Hey, what's wrong? Please don't cry." She had just spoken when she let out a small cry. Alexander had bitten down hard on her hand. As he bit, he mumbled insults. "White-haired monster. White mouse. White blind man. Let me go home." Tears streamed down Luna's face from the pain, but she didn't dare cry out loud for fear of attracting attention. She could only struggle weakly, her voice full of hurt. "Don't say that about me. My father says only bad people say things like that. Whoever said I was a good person? If you don't let me go, I'll bite you every day." Alexander had never gotten a clear look at Luna before. It was only after being locked up in the May residence that he had seen her up close, her snow-white hair and skin, framed by the dark fox fur. The strange sight had sent a chill down his spine, making him even more unwilling to stay and be her companion. Now, he clamped down on her hand for a long moment before finally letting go. He spat out a mouthful of blood and, ignoring the muffled sobs from outside the door, said viciously, "Go tell your father. Let him beat me to death. I'd rather die than be with a monster like you." Alexander was prepared for a fight to the death. but the outcome was completely unexpected. The door opened to reveal Master Mai, his face grim. The swirling snow behind him seemed to cast a weary shadow upon his features. "You can go. Just this once, I'll consider it a bad business deal on my part. Don't ever appear before me again." The sudden reversal left Alexander at a loss. Then, he saw a small head peek out from behind Master Mai. A snow-white face was nestled in a fox fur collar, a wounded hand carefully hidden in a sleeve. Her eyes, white as porcelain, looked at him timidly, but she was smiling. He understood instantly. He opened his mouth to speak, but an indescribable feeling rose in his chest. A carriage took Alexander straight to his home. Just before he left, Luna seemed to remember something. She took out another piece of candy, ran after the carriage, and handed it to him. This time, Alexander didn't hesitate. He took it, his lips pressed into a thin line. "Thank you. When I have time, I'll come and play with you." But that thank you had barely faded into the wind when, by nightfall, the same carriage brought Alexander back. He was delirious with fever, lying unconscious in the carriage, his face streaked with tears as he mumbled nonsense. It was a cruel, absurd twist of fate. Alexander had gone home only to find he was a step too late. The house was empty. There was no one there. The gambler had finally lost everything. Before the debt collectors could come knocking a second time, he had taken his family and fled overnight, leaving Sun City for good. He had never once thought about the son he had sold to a pawnshop. In this chaotic world, a human life is cheap. It's worth less than a single die in a gambler's hand. According to the May family's coachman, Alexander was completely stunned. He swayed on his feet, then suddenly collapsed into the snow, face down as if he were dead. Terrified and unsure of what else to do, the coachman had quickly brought him back. The little wolf cub who had been so full of life the night before was now like an empty shell. He lay on his back, staring blankly at the canopy above his bed. Luna came to see him secretly in the middle of the night. She climbed onto the bed and reached out to wipe the corner of his eye, her fingers touching a cool dampness. "No one will ever come to redeem me now," he whispered. "I don't have a home. I don't have a mother. I don't have my brother and sisters. I have nothing." His voice was like a ghost's, echoing in the cold, silent night. Luna's nose tingled, and she couldn't help but lean closer. Before Alexander could react, a touch of sweetness was placed in his mouth and a soft, small hand covered his lips to keep him from spitting it out. Alexander's pupils dilated. In a flash of fury, he bit down on her slender white fingers. The pain made Luna collapse onto him, her head pressed against his chest, but she clenched her jaw and refused to let go. She said, I can be your family too. This can be your home. Our family is large. They can all play with you." But Alexander was filled with hate. "Who wants to play with you? Why did you say my eyebrows were beautiful? Why did you do this to me?" His voice was hot and muffled beneath her palm. Luna's eyes shimmered with tears, her two thin eyebrows as white as frost. "I didn't do anything to you. I really thought they were beautiful. When I look in the mirror, I can't even see my own eyebrows properly." "Shut up." Alexander gritted his teeth. The more he thought, the more he hated her, and he began to curse wildly. "You white-haired monster! You white mouse! You white blind man!" He cursed for half the night, and Luna lay on top of him, listening in silence for half the night. She waited until Alexander had no strength left, until the candy had completely dissolved. Only then, as if he had finally accepted his fate, did he close his eyes. "Do you know?" As the bed curtains fluttered, every word he spoke carried a sweet fragrance, but they fell on Luna's fingertips like tiny silver needles, pricking her with pain. "Some people are born to bring disaster, like a white-haired monster like you. You covet what you don't have, so you take what belongs to others and make it your own. I really hate you. I despise you." Luna May would later learn that hate could be a daily affair, lasting for 10 years. And that love could be the very same. Alexander stayed at the May residence, but he did so unwillingly. No matter how much Luna tried to please him or catered to him, he never gave her a kind look. As he grew older, he came to understand that the greater share of blame for his abandonment lay with the man he refused to call father. But where were his father and his family? He couldn't find any of his relatives, and his immense resentment needed an outlet. Naturally, he redirected it all toward Luna, whom he blamed as the source of his misfortune. This state of frustrated gloom finally began to change when he met Ruby Goo. Ruby Goo was the daughter of the master of a large escort agency in Sun City. She was about the same age as Luna. One day, her kite fell into the May family courtyard. With little concern for decorum, she simply crawled through the doggy door to retrieve it. When she looked up, her eyes met Alexander's startled gaze. "Little sister?" Ruby was graceful and pretty, and she looked so much like the youngest sister in Alexander's memory. The moment he saw her, it was as if he had been transported back in time. He could almost smell the aroma of rice cooking on the stove back home. When Luna arrived, it was dusk. A young man and woman were sitting in the light of the setting sun, their clothes fluttering, a kite in their hands. They were talking and laughing, their close figures like a painting. She stood in the wind, holding her special bamboo-ribbed umbrella, and suddenly didn't know whether she should approach. But they had already looked up and seen her at the same time. The girl in crimson robes stood up briskly, patted down her dress, and raised an eyebrow with a natural charm. "Then it's settled, future senior brother. I'll be waiting for you at the agency." After speaking, she paid no mind to Luna's reaction. She just grabbed her kite, bent down, and started to crawl back out through the doggy door. A shocked Alexander quickly stopped her. "Hey, you don't have to crawl. You can just use the front gate." The girl in crimson waved her hand, her laughter like silver bells. "That's too far. It's a long walk around. This way is much faster. My father says people of the martial world aren't bound by trivial formalities." She also had a habit of saying, "my father says." But her manner was completely different from Luna's sheltered upbringing. She was much more free-spirited and casual. And it was obvious from Alexander's burst of laughter that he preferred her personality. When she was finally gone, Alexander turned and met the eyes of Luna under her umbrella. The courtyard suddenly fell silent. That day, for what seemed like the first time, Alexander used a pleading tone with Luna. The evening sky was ablaze with color, stretching his shadow long behind him. "I want to join the Goo family escort agency. I want to learn martial arts and become an escort." In the wind, Luna was silent for a long time before she blinked her snow-white lashes. "All right, I'll go speak with my father." He walked toward her, a hint of joy on his face. But she suddenly reached out and grabbed the corner of his sleeve. Will you still come back?" Her long lashes trembled. The face she lifted to him was pale and delicate, like a nervous, lost fawn. Alexander's heart suddenly softened. He grunted softly. "Of course I'll come back." Before Luna could smile, his mouth out of habit moved faster than his heart. "Your family still holds my contract. Where else would I go?" The moment the words were out, he regretted them. Sure enough, her snow-white face froze. She let go of his sleeve and her expression dimmed. Alexander's hand twitched and he cursed himself inwardly. There it was again. It was always like this. Why couldn't he just speak to her properly? His intention wasn't to wound or mock her, but the words always came out twisted. He couldn't understand it, and he didn't want to think about it. An inexplicable frustration welled up in his chest. Just like countless times before, he left her standing there and walked away without a backward glance. How could he face it? Perhaps for him, she had been an impossible knot to untangle ever since that snowy winter in their childhood. Joining the escort agency was like entering a new world for Alexander. He had fellow apprentices, a sense of family with his little sister, new experiences, and more laughter. He went to the agency more and more often and returned later and later. Often, late at night, he would walk to his room and find a small lamp lit. Beneath it sat a quiet, lonely figure, waiting by his door, slowly savoring a piece of candy as she waited for him. At those times, Luna always reminded Alexander of his childhood, of her leaning against the door, comforting him with her innocent words. "Candy is sweet. My father says eating it stops you from being sad, stops you from wanting to cry." An inexplicable pang shot through his heart. Not wanting to dwell on it, he would just say to her each time, "You don't have to do this. The nights are cold and damp. It's not good for your health." And each time, Luna would look up, her porcelain-white eyes smiling at him. "I'm not waiting for you. I'm looking at the stars. The stars are most numerous and brightest from your doorway." What could Alexander possibly say to that? Only once was her answer different. That day, Luna seemed a little downcast. Leaning against the door, she sighed. Actually, I secretly went to the agency today. I saw you practicing with them, shooting arrows, laughing. I really wanted to go over, but I couldn't even step out from under my umbrella. The sun was so strong, and I didn't dare let anyone see me. The ordinary things you do every day, they feel so out of reach for me. Maybe. I'm just envious. As she grew older, her condition had worsened. Her skin was so white it was almost translucent. She was, of course, aware of how strange she appeared to others, so she rarely went out. But with Alexander at the agency, she was simply too lonely and couldn't resist going to see him. Seeming to sense Luna's mood, Alexander hesitated. After a long moment, he sat down beside her and said, "You'll get better. There are countless remedies in this world. There has to be one that can cure you." Luna lowered her head and murmured, "Eh." In truth, she had hoped he would say he'd come home earlier, that he'd spend more time with her. But Alexander would never say those things. And she would never ask. One autumn, after several years of training at the agency, Alexander accepted his first mission to escort a shipment out of Sun City. Master Gu, Ruby's father, had to personally guarantee that Alexander would be brought back to the May family exactly as he left before Master May would agree. Unfortunately, while Alexander had managed to suppress the urge to flee when leaving Sun City, on the journey back, a devilish impulse took hold of him, and he could no longer contain the roiling emotions inside. On that impulse, he quietly rode his horse away from the group. When the agency men gave chase, he panicked, tumbled off a cliff, and broke both his legs. It was as if heaven was playing a cruel joke on him. He was brought back to Sun City and laid on a couch, unable to feel any pain, his heart like dead ashes. When Ruby came to see him, his voice was hollow. "How could I not want to escape? I dream of finding my mother and my brother and sisters." Only Ruby, whom he often called little sister, could possibly understand that bone-deep yearning for his family. She turned away, tears in her eyes, and suddenly began pounding on the chests of the apprentices who had come with her. "Why did you have to chase him? Couldn't you have just let him go? Are you going to keep him trapped in Sun City for the rest of his life?" The apprentices, who had spent every day with Alexander, all bowed their heads in guilt. "Master gave us strict orders. We had to bring him back. He made a pact with Master May. He couldn't break his word." Amidst the commotion, a slender figure hid by the door. After everyone had left, she stepped out softly and walked, step by step, to Alexander's couch. Her snow-white lashes trembled. She looked him over from head to toe, her gaze lingering on him for an eternity, until his own hoarse voice broke the silence. "Had your fill of looking? A pathetic cripple like me? Is there anything left to see?" Luna sat down on the edge of the bed and slowly took his hand. He flinched but didn't pull away. She held on tighter, even pressing his hand to her cheek. Warm breath escaped her lips, and her words carried a power that was both gentle and unbreakable. "You are not a cripple. I will make you stand again. You'll be able to walk and run and practice your sword at the agency, just like before." At that moment, a single tear finally fell, landing on Alexander's neck. He blinked, and a fog seemed to descend over his heart, like a spring rain in the south. The recovery was excruciatingly long. Every day, Luna personally applied his medicine, helped him walk in the courtyard, and massaged his numb muscles at night. Sometimes, she was so tired she didn't even make it back to her own room, but simply slept beside him, fully clothed. On the flowered path in the courtyard, Alexander would fall, again and again, only to climb back up, again and again. His moods swung wildly. One day, after finally managing to take 100 steps, his legs began to tremble uncontrollably. Overwhelmed with frustration, he shoved Luna away. "Get lost, stop meddling, just give up on this cripple." Luna held on to him tightly, shaking her head, her face pale. Alexander grew vicious. "Let go, I said, let go of me." He swayed unstably, and as he spoke, they stumbled and fell together in a cloud of dust. Luna's tears fell in a frantic shower. "I won't let go. I will never let go. Even if you really are crippled, I will take care of you for the rest of my life." She had fallen on top of him, but her grip on his hand remained firm. After what felt like a long time, his other hand slowly came up to embrace her. "What am I supposed to do with you? Your stubbornness is just as infuriating as it was when we were children." The days passed. In the dead of night, Alexander would watch the snow-white face sleeping beside him, illuminated by the moonlight filtering through the window. Something, without him even realizing it, had begun to quietly change. Just as Alexander's legs were getting better day by day, recovering to about 70 or 80%, Ruby Goo paid a visit to the May residence. After she spoke with Alexander and left, Luna came in with his recovery tonic, only to be met with Alexander's icy glare. "Did your father tell you? Was he worried that once I got better, I'd spend all my time at the agency and ignore you again? Or that I'd try to run away? Did he tell you to put something in my soup to make sure I stay crippled forever? Is that it?" Luna's face went white. The bowl in her hand almost slipped. She thought of the look Ruby had given her on her way out and understood. Ruby must have overheard her father's complaints and given Alexander the wrong idea. "No, that's not it. My father was just talking nonsense. He didn't really want to." Before she could finish, Alexander violently swiped his hand, knocking the bowl of tonic from her grasp. As the porcelain shattered, she almost cried out. He looked up at her, gritting his teeth, in hatred. "And why can't I escape? Do I have to be chained to your May family forever, a broken-winged eagle in your cage? Even if you didn't really drug me, how is what you're doing any different? Holding my pawn ticket over my head, making a pact with my master to trap me in Sun City. Are you telling me none of that is real? Some things can't be thought of, can't be mentioned. They are like a fuse." All the grievances of the past came rushing back, completely washing away the warmth that had so quietly begun to grow between them. Amidst Alexander's furious shouts, Luna stood frozen. Her snow-white lashes trembled. In the end, she said nothing at all, but simply knelt to clean up the broken porcelain. "I'll go get you another bowl. Calm down. Later, I'll massage your legs and help you walk a few more laps in the courtyard." "Don't bother. Stop the pretense. I don't need anything." His cold voice cut her off. Alexander met her gaze. "The Goo family escort agency is sending someone to pick me up tomorrow. You won't have to do any of this anymore." Luna's hand trembled, and a shard of porcelain sliced her finger. "But you haven't completely. It's good enough. Should I stay here and wait to be poisoned and crippled by accident? You might promise not to do it, but can you promise your father won't?" Faced with his sharp, rapid-fire questions, Luna's lips moved, but no sound came out. She lowered her head. A tear fell onto the broken shards, mingling with the drop of blood welling from her cut finger, glistening and red. Alexander forced himself to look away, one hand gripping the bedsheets tightly. When there was finally no more movement behind him, he threw the covers over his head and in that endless darkness, let out a pained sob. Alexander didn't return to the May residence for half a month. Luna stopped her father from going to the agency to demand an explanation, and instead quietly opened her bamboo-ribbed umbrella and slipped out the door when no one was looking. Alexander, whose legs had long since healed, had just stepped out of the agency when he saw a shocking scene. Luna had fallen to the ground. A group of mischievous children were circling her, throwing small stones and singing taunting rhymes. One of them even tried to snatch the bamboo-ribbed umbrella she was clutching tightly. "Ugly monster, white-haired monster. The May family has a ghost for a lady." Luna curled up on the ground, trying to dodge them, desperately protecting the umbrella in her hands, terrified of being exposed to the sun for even a second. She pleaded pitifully, "No, please don't take my umbrella. I'm not a ghost, I'm begging you." Alexander's pupils constricted. Blood rushed to his head. Without a second thought, he charged forward, grabbed a few of the children, and threw them aside. "Get away! All of you, get away! Don't touch her!" The children were scared witless by Alexander and scattered in all directions. Luna tightened her grip on her wobbling umbrella. Her face, drenched in a cold sweat, hadn't even had a chance to clearly see her rescuer before an outer robe descended from the sky, wrapping her up tightly. Alexander covered her hand on the umbrella handle, his furious voice ringing in her ear. "Don't talk. Who told you to come out alone? Do you have any idea how dangerous it is?" Completely covered by Alexander's robe, not a single ray of sunlight could get through. Luna finally felt some relief. After catching her breath, she mumbled from inside the garment, I wanted to see if your legs were better." Alexander paused. Then his habitual sharp tongue took over. "Of course they're better. It's not like my bones were crushed to dust." But as he spoke, he unconsciously pulled Luna closer into his arms, his chest pressing against her head. After a long moment, he said, "Hold your umbrella steady. I'm going to carry you back now." The setting sun sank low in the west as a breeze swept down the long street. Their overlapping shadows, edged in gold, swayed and stretched, painting a dreamlike scene. On the way back, Alexander John asked Luna May a dozen times if she was still feeling unwell. Only after she patiently answered him each time would his worried expression soften. But then he would huff, though it was impossible to tell who or what had earned his frustration. "Your father has given you so much medicine. Has none of it helped at all?" Luna May was silent for so long that Alexander thought she wouldn't answer. Then her voice came from over his shoulder. "It's no use, because it's not an illness." "Then what is it?" Alexander was taken aback. "Perhaps it's karma." A gust of wind billowed through Luna May's dress. She tightened her slender arms around Alexander's neck, and a quiet sigh escaped her lips, carrying with it a secret she had never spoken of before. Luna May wasn't born with her strange condition. It all began with a white fox. A snow-white fox, from parts unknown, had snuck into her family's library. There it would sit in various corners, poring over scrolls with rapt attention. It never took human form, simply using its fluffy paws to select one book after another. Reflected in the moonlit window, the sight was utterly bizarre. The first time Luna May's mother saw it, she was frightened half to death. The white fox, however, was clever. It instantly dropped the scroll and fled. But a few days later, frantic servants came running to report new sightings of the book-thieving fox. At the time, Madame May was 6 months pregnant, a delicate stage where no mishaps could be risked. With the fox causing a panic throughout the manor, Master May finally had enough. He invited a celestial master from Oracle Mountain to secretly lay a spiritual ward, and the white fox walked right into the trap. That night, a cold wind howled as the white fox fought desperately to escape the formation. It managed to save its life, but not without a cost. Master May shot out one of its eyes. Amidst a spray of fresh blood, its piercing shriek echoed across the May estate, lingering long into the night. As the injured fox fled, it fixed its remaining eye on Master May, a look filled with venomous hatred. The glare sent a chill through the heart of even Master May, a man seasoned in business, typically unshakable in a crisis. Several months passed in the blink of an eye. The white fox never reappeared, and Master May gradually let his guard down, assuming the matter was settled and calm had been restored. Madame May's due date was fast approaching. Then, on the very night she gave birth to Luna May, the unforeseen happened. The white fox appeared again. The one-eyed snow fox had clearly come prepared. It saw its chance, bit the midwife's hand, and snatched the falling newborn in its jaws, its eye glowing with resentful light. While everyone in the room looked on in horror, and before Master May could rush in, the fox bit down hard on the baby girl. Then it leaped out the window and vanished without a trace. The bite left no blood on Luna May, but in that instant, it turned her completely white from head to toe. Her mother, lying on the bed, took one look at her child, let out a scream, and fainted. Master May picked up his beloved daughter, his hands trembling uncontrollably as he stared in horror at the change. In the distance, servants from the May estate cried out in alarm, shouting, "Fire! Fire!" The May family's library was engulfed in a towering inferno, and it burned to the ground in a single night. The fox's revenge was devastating. Losing the library was a small matter compared to the real tragedy that befell Master May's wife and daughter. His daughter was afflicted with a strange condition from birth, and his wife, overcome by the shock, died soon after. Master May was suddenly a widower, left alone to care for his infant daughter as his tears soaked his robes. He both despised the white fox and blamed himself for being so impulsive, for bringing this disaster upon his family. Filled with guilt, he never remarried. Instead, he devoted himself to his only daughter, doting on her and granting her every wish. He also spent a fortune hiring celestial masters to hunt down the one-eyed snow fox. But years passed with no news. His hatred for the entire Fox clan led him to commission countless fox fur coats for Luna May as she was growing up, a cruel way to vent his rage. As a child, Luna May was unaware of this history and loved the beautiful fox furs her father gave her. But once she learned the origin of her strange condition, she refused to ever wear them again. She also pleaded with her father to stop the hunting, skinning, and butchering of the White Fox clan. She felt it was all part of a cycle of cause and effect. After all the turmoil, it was impossible to truly say who was right and who was wrong. But she no longer wanted to be entangled in the cycle, desperate for release. So you see, this isn't an illness, it's karma, something no miracle doctor in the world can cure. I suppose for the rest of my life, I'm doomed to be a monster who can't bear the light of day. Beneath the setting sun, Luna May rested her head against Alexander's shoulder. Tears welled in her eyes, each one a drop of sorrow seeping into his heart. He let out a low growl, filled with an indescribable mix of anger and pain. What nonsense are you talking about? To hell with karma. There has to be a way. There just has to be. This is outrageous. If I ever get my hands on that beast. Hearing his furious words, Luna May's white eyelashes trembled. A strange warmth spread through her chest, and she pressed herself a little closer to him, and then closer still. Later, Luna May would often think back to that afternoon, to the setting sun and the gentle breeze. If only time could have stopped right there. If only he could have carried her forever, down a road that never ended. How wonderful that would have been. But there are no if-onlys. Time drifted on like a fleeting cloud until her birthday arrived. She returned his pawn ticket. From that moment on, they owed each other nothing. It was all over.